All right, whether you are brand new to teaching science or you've been doing this for years, you know that classroom management is imperative and requires flexibility. Well, aloha teacher friends. My name is Fleur, the face of Aloha Monday Teaching, and I help middle school science teachers be intentional, prepared, and refreshed for Mondays and any day by providing strategies and support and encouragement. Um, so before we begin, be sure to get your free guide 5 daily must-do classroom routines to run your science classroom like a pro. You just go to www.flairstrongoli.com/daily. The link is in the description below. All right, and don't miss a thing. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this video and to our channel so you don't miss any videos. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I post regularly. You can find me at Aloha Monday Teaching. And then this is the free guide that you can get. And I will send you weekly newsletters through email. All right, well, let's begin. Okay, so in my blog post, 3 essential components for science classroom management, I go over 3 focus areas with strategies for each that I use to manage my science classroom. So this is the first video of a 3-part video series based on this blog post. And in today's video, we will go over how to build a positive and safe classroom community. So this is so important to establish at the beginning of the school year and maintain throughout the school year. When students like and trust you, they will work harder for you. When students feel safe and respected by their peers and you, they will be more likely to participate, share, and work with others. So these are the 5 strategies that we will go over today. Strategy 1, be you. So one thing to remember is that you are in control of what happens in your classroom. One of the things I always think about is the circle of influence in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So you focus on what you can control, which is yourself and your vision for your classroom. So that's where be you comes in. Be yourself with some positive energy too. Share what you're comfortable with sharing with your students about yourself. And that way they get to know you. Tell them stories about when you were in middle school so they can relate and understand, and they know that you can relate and understand. So one of the things I like to share with students is how hard middle school was for me, and it probably was for you too. It's a very strange age. So I've called it the identity crisis stage. So for me, I was trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in. Was I smart? Was I popular? Was I athletic? Honestly, I wasn't any of those things in middle school, which may have made it harder. But once they know your successes and struggles, that will help them get through this part of middle school too. So being yourself and sharing your stories leads us to the second strategy of building relationships. You want to build relationships with your students. So you also need to get to know them, find out what their interests are, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, fears, ambitions. So how do you do this? Well, you have to ask them questions. You can ask them when they arrive, just simple questions. You can make a survey that they fill out, or you can incorporate different cooperative learning and team building activities that will get them to open up and share. So I like to use strategies from Responsive Classroom, which I'll share with you today, to help build relationships, like using morning meetings or class meetings. So strategy 3, forgive my little slideshow here, it didn't show up well. Strategy 3 is team building and cooperative learning. So this is where the fun is, in my opinion, and where students build relationships and trust with each other. which is humongous. That's huge. So at the beginning of the year, start with low stakes team building and competition where everyone can be successful and feel safe. So you'll quickly see who is competitive, who gets disappointed quickly, who doesn't want to participate, although you should always encourage participation. So for example, during the Summer Olympics, we did a science Olympics with our students and they loved it. They wanted to do it again. We did class competitions and they earned medals. We made sure to do different activities that allowed students to show their strengths. Like some were, we did like word activities. We did an escape room. We did building things. So we try to do different types of competitions. Cooperative learning is another way to build those relationships and get students to work together. So I highly recommend reading Kagan's Cooperative Learning if you haven't yet. They give some awesome strategies to use. Morning meetings are another great way to build a safe and classroom community. I like to use this book called the Morning Meeting Book. There's a section just for middle school. So I know it's harder to incorporate this in middle school because of our schedules. We only have like an hour with our students each day. So some things that have worked for me before is doing it once a week, or maybe doing the first few minutes of class each day because there's different parts to a morning meeting and just squeezing in like 3 of them a day. But you can read all about that in this morning meeting book. And I have links to everything in the description. All right, the fourth strategy is competition. And again, forgive my slideshow. It doesn't show up correctly when I made it nice, but it's not showing that way. So anyway, the fourth strategy is competition, which is so much fun if you're competitive. But what I like to use is the like a classroom competition. So I use the Super Improvers team, which I read about in Whole Brain Teaching for challenging kids and everyone else too. And what they do, so my students set an academic goal, and you can see in this picture, the sticky notes, some of these fell off, but when I took the photo. So each class sets a class goal for their class average on tests. And when they reach that goal on their tests, then they get a star. So that's one thing they do. I also will do behavior goals, which varies between classes. So like if one class is having a hard time remembering what to do when they walk into class in the morning or during, the first part of class, I will set that as a goal. And when they keep improving towards it, they earn their stars when they make any kind of progress or mastery on their goals. So I choose the behavior that I want to encourage and correct. And like I said, it's different for each class. So when a class earns 10 stars, they move up a level. So you can see I have different colors like fan, rookie, starter, leader, and so on. I did a sports theme because I like sports. So they start off as fan, which is blue. And then when they move up, they get the next color card and then they get 10 stars and they move up again. And so every time they move up, they get to choose a class reward. I like to keep it free or in it as inexpensive as possible. And I also make sure that it follows our school rules. Like that's really important to me. So I let them brainstorm, like they offer their choices. I narrow it down to what I can live with, and then they vote for their reward. And then we do that as a class. So for example, most classes will choose recess time. So I'll give them 20 minutes of recess. They'll want free time inside, no phones. I don't do phones. Maybe donuts, or some classes even like extra credit. So finally, the fifth strategy is communication. So not only are we community building inside of our classrooms with our students, but we also need to have that community with their families. And my first favorite thing of teaching is teaching students and working with them. But my second favorite is working with the parents. I just love people. So I love building partnerships with their parents and guardians. And I think it's a really important piece of classroom management. You need their support in order for things to go well in your classroom. So you can set the tone right away. So at Meet the Teacher Night or in your first newsletter, let them know that you make decisions based on what is best for kids or even their child. And like I share my teaching philosophy at Meet the Teacher Night, and I actually made an acrostic poem with the word aloha. And so for each letter, for A, I have, ALOHA, I have something that shares my teaching philosophy. And one of them is ohana, which is family. So like working together. And I think that has helped parents really join me in this partnership and made it makes our school year much better. So also, as you know, parents are used to us calling them or emailing home when there's a problem. So what if we called or emailed with something positive too? I'm sure you do that already, but how about I challenge you to do it more often? I mean, that will shock them at first and they will appreciate it and they will be more responsive anytime you call or email them. Like you'll be able to call them about something really weird and they'll be like, okay, I'm on it. Another thing you could do is send regular newsletters home. Something I tried this school year when I had time was I wrote my newsletter and I also uploaded a YouTube video for them because, you know, some people like to read, some like to watch a video. And that also, it kind of helps with that personal connection with them because they can see you and hear your voice and all of that. All right, we talked about 5 important parts of building a positive and safe classroom community, but this is just one of the biggest parts of science classroom management. So, what are some ways that you build your classroom community? Be sure to share that in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you do. So, in the next classroom management video, we're going to talk all about classroom procedures and routines. So, until then, be sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos. And also, don't forget to go get your 5 daily must-do routines to run your science classroom like a pro, which is at www.flourishstrongoli.com/daily. And that is also in the description. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I will see you soon.